Hello there and welcome to your seasonal self-care update for the month of January. In this video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the kinds of challenges that highly sensitive and neurodivergent people might be facing at this time of the year. And we'll also get into the all-important actions that you can be taking to support your self-care, adapt your self-care in order to really fortify yourself for the months and the rest of the year ahead. If you are new to me and my work, my name is Nicola. I'm a yoga teacher, a yoga therapist, but I'm also, importantly, a highly sensitive person and also neurodivergent myself. And I live and breathe this stuff. It's taken me many years to kind of really disseminate the kinds of practices and tools that are really useful for people similar to myself who can easily become overwhelmed by life. Isn't that everybody right now? But essentially, I make and create content for people like myself who are craving life with greater calm and freedom from overwhelm, anxiety and stress, and really so that we can actually thrive as ourselves. So if that's your kind of thing, please feel free to subscribe to my channel where I share lots of different things, yoga practices, mindfulness tools, as well as vlogs and seasonal updates such as these. So let's get into today's content. So first of all, Happy New Year, perhaps, maybe it doesn't feel like a Happy New Year, maybe it does. The challenges of this month could be quite a lot and they could feel quite heavy. And they're all interrelated. So first of all, you may well be feeling that kind of post-holiday season fatigue. And every year has its own nuanced challenges. Each Christmas, each holiday season has its own nuances. And we're in a particularly tumultuous time on the planet as well. So that all feeds in. But there is this sense of, the kind of busyness of life really kind of peaks often around Christmas time, which is really odd if you look at nature, because nature is not doing that. It is winding down, slowing down for many parts of the world. So you may well be feeling tired from all the extra socializing, from actually for a lot of us, it's the extra cognitive load, the people to see, the kind of sequencing of events so that you've got the gifts wrapped by the time that you see people. There might also be this sense of when we slow down, we realise just how tired we are and maybe how adrenaline was maybe running the show and stress was running our bodies, running our minds for quite a while up until that point. And if you felt quite overwhelmed with life and you were on a bit of a hamster wheel, then that kind of sudden stopping for Christmas might then kind of pulled you in and maybe even feeling a little bit of burnout. Obviously, in addition to this or in combination, you may well be feeling quite low, maybe even depressed. Part of that might be the fatigue of not just the holiday season, but the times we're living in, which, as I said, is quite tumultuous. There are lots of big movements happening at the moment. There is this kind of swathe of minority groups kind of uprising, and there's a lot of tension in the world. So that is really draining. It's draining to just be feeling it, because often we absorb other people's emotions a lot more than most, and we're sensitive to changes, we're sensitive to many things in our environment. But also, if you feel like you have been somebody that has been fighting that fight and having to advocate for a group. So for example, myself, I have 2 neurodivergent children, and often I'm advocating for their needs in a world that perhaps doesn't value those kinds of traits as they should do. So there's the fatigue that feeds into the depressive feelings, but there's also kind of on a physiological level, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere where I am, then the lack of light probably really starts to be felt right now. And so although we have passed the winter solstice, so we are slowly increasing in light levels now, there's just that kind of feeling of like, come on, I need more. I might be feeling a real need for some sunshine. Now, in addition to that, the holiday season and the winter time in general, the energy of winter is one of quiet. In the Chinese system, it's governed by the element of water, and the qualities associated with that are kind of containment, reflection, contemplation, being still. And even if we fight against that natural energy of being still, it is a quieter time. And when we slow down, whether we've been forced to slow down by illness or out of choice or other things that have caused us to slow down, we might have realizations and kind of facing of truths that come up. And it's always in the air in January anyway, this kind of new chapter, New Year's resolutions, you know, new year, new me, or whatever, if you subscribe to that, or even if you don't subscribe to that, it's in the air. And so that can bring things to the fore. Maybe a sudden, you know, this job isn't right for me, this relationship is draining me, it's really imbalanced, or what am I doing, you know, even just what am I doing with my life kind of thing. And that obviously can bring big emotions to the surface and will feed into this feeling of, you know, low. Potentially, it won't be for all of us, but it could be for some of us. And then my final challenge really is the societal pressure that we still have. It's still a very big story that plays out in society, is this: it's January, let's get back to it, get back to the productivity. This is what the capitalist structure wants from us. It wants us to get back on it, that we can be bigger, we can be better, we can be fitter, eat better, we can do more, we can be a whole brand new person. And I really want to swear. It's BS, isn't it? It's an old, outdated story. And if you come into this idea and you really resonate with slow living, seasonal living, and getting back to our nature, it's not we look at nature and see what nature's doing, we are nature, then this time of the year in the Northern Hemisphere where I am is not a time to be getting back on top of things. We still need less. We're in midwinter now, and it's cold, and although the light is slowly increasing, it's still dark outside. The temperature is, like I say, is low. The plants outside are not yet ready to bloom. Having said that, there is stuff happening underground. The roots often are still growing. The bulbs will be containing and gathering in all that it needs in order to burst into life in the spring. And so if you use that as a metaphor for life, the kinds of action, if you like, that we ought to be doing in January is the unseen stuff, the under the ground stuff. And that's where I'm going to get to with your actions for this month. So, first one is to have as much opportunity to be still and quiet as you can. Now, I have 2 children that are in their tween years. They are very loud and very physical, and I still commit to times of quiet and stillness. It is not easy. It requires planning and it requires intention, but it is so important. On a physiological level, every single one of us our brains need quiet in order to process. But if you're extra sensitive and neurodivergent, then you need it more. So as much silent or near silent or quiet time, less noise as possible, simply just to be, to rest, to nap, whatever is your way of finding it is fine. Just take it and plan it in. And on that kind of planning note, it's probably worth not having too many, or I guess kind of reflecting on how many social events you can tolerate. It's a real balance, because some of us really require social interaction in order to lift our mood, but too much of that can be draining, especially if you're wired in a similar way to me, which is, that being around people can be quite draining. Choose your people wisely, I guess is what I'm saying. So that's kind of the attitude to approach this month. The next one I'm going to come to is about movement. So especially with this kind of pressure in mind, if you've maybe eaten too much stuff you shouldn't over the holidays, and there's the whole get back to the gym thing, allow movement to be pleasurable and for the sole purpose of creating fluidity. So come back to that idea that the winter is governed by the water element. You know, we can start to feel like kind of stiff in our joints. We can start to feel sluggish in our digestive system. There's an overall kind of feeling of being prone to stagnancy and stuckness. So allow your movement to be one that creates fluidity and flow in the body, allowing the joints to feel happy, the digestive system, all the kind of waters of the body, if you like, but also the emotions, because emotions need to move. They are energy in motion, energy in motion. So they need to move through your body, just as the waters and the fluids and so on need to move too. So, you know, things like certain styles of dance, certain styles of yoga, qigong, these are all really beautiful movements. Swimming, I guess, that's not too repetitive, like mixing up your strokes and not thinking about, you know, getting as fast as you can across the pool. These are all really good for our bodies and our minds. The next thing I'm going to talk, I've got two more things. The last one's really important, so I'm going to leave that till last because it's kind of like a little bolt on. The third one I'm going to talk about is get out in nature. It's always important, especially for us extra sensitive folks. But what you can do is, as you go out into nature, you can connect to those qualities of stillness and quiet and really observe what's happening in nature. You might even tap into this idea of what is it that's going on under the ground, beneath my feet, and then internalize that and ask yourself, well, what's going on under the ground for me too? And purely on a physiological level, you can get out as early in the day as possible, and whenever the sun is out, get out there, get as much skin as you dare to reveal to get that sunshine on your face. It's really important, obviously, for our vitamin D levels. If you're not taking a supplement, I would recommend taking one. And yeah, just getting outside, breathing in the fresh air can really help to, again, shift any stagnancy, lift the mood, and connect you to your nature whilst being out in nature. Okay, final important thing, it's not the most important thing, but it's important in the sense of, if you're somebody that's really wanting to live an intentional, mindful life and get out of this kind of autopilot that so many of us get into just to survive, and no judgment, I've been there myself, is to spend some time reflecting on your values. This is something that I do every single year, or have been since I've been doing this kind of inner work, is to really think about your values. And it's really as simple as, and you can print these off, you can find these on the internet quite widely. If I have time to do one, I will produce one and make it available somewhere, is having a page full of words that are key values, things like authenticity, friendship, family, home, I don't know, nature. There's lots of different values. You can look them up, and spending time reflecting on all of these different values, and then really getting in touch with which ones feel your values, that you feel most connected to. And from that place, once you've distilled it down to maybe 3 or 4, you can then ask yourself, how much am I living in line with my values? Which pockets of life are completely out of line with my values? Because that will be where the conflict point is in your life. It will be what creates the issues that then cause you stress and so on. Not always easy work, but it can be really helpful to just kind of take that perspective, and then from there you can start to think about ways in which to bring that area of life into greater alignment. Okay, so that was a little bit of a longer one this month. I hope it was of value. I would really love to hear what you have reflected on, if anything's resonated with you. I'd love to know your values, so pop them in the comments below. And of course, like this video, it really helps my channel. Share it with somebody that needs it, and let me know any thoughts. All right, take care for now and have a great January.